Have you ever wondered if all of human history, from the very first person right down to our lives today, could actually be explained by a single core story? Well, that's the incredible idea we're going to dig into using one of the Qur'an's most epic chapters, Surah Al-A'raf. We're going to try and uncover this foundational narrative, a story that is, when you get right down to it, the story of every single soul.
So yeah, that's the big question, right? What is this one story that could possibly explain all the others? It's a huge question, for sure. But the answer this surah points to is found in a single primal choice. A choice that echoes from the very dawn of creation all the way to this exact moment.
So to find that answer, we have to go back, way back. We're starting where the surah starts, at the very beginning. And I don't mean on Earth. We're going to a realm before our time, to witness the first test that humanity ever faced. This one scene, you'll see, sets the stage for everything that comes after. Okay, so picture this. The setting is paradise. Adam, the first human, has just been created, and a divine command goes out to everyone present. Angels and another being named Iblis, who we come to know as Satan. And the command is simple. Show respect to this new creation. A simple command, right? But it kicks off a chain reaction that defines the entire human drama. And right here, in this moment, we see two totally different paths emerge. They're like two templates for how we respond to God. On one side, you've got Adam's path. It starts with a moment of forgetfulness, of heedlessness, which leads to a mistake. But, and this is the crucial part, it circles back to grace through repentance. Then you have Iblis's path. It starts with arrogance, which hardens into outright disobedience, and then full-blown defiance. It's a spiritual dead end. These two paths, they're the central conflict of the entire surah. So let's break down that first spiritual disease we see, kibr. We translate it as arrogance, but it's so much more than just being cocky. It's a deep-seated rejection of the truth, specifically because you think you're better. It's refusing to submit to a command because your own ego, your own logic is telling you that you know better. And the second disease is ghafla, or heedlessness. And this is totally different. It isn't a defiant no to the truth. It's more like forgetting the truth for a second. It's a momentary lapse, a slip-up, where you just lose focus on your purpose and you make a mistake. And this quote just, wow, it captures the essence of kibr perfectly. Just listen to his reasoning. Iblis isn't saying he doesn't believe in God. In fact, he's talking right to him, acknowledging him as the creator. His entire argument for disobedience is based on his own sense of superiority. I am better than he is. Fire is better than clay. In his mind, his personal analysis is more important than a direct divine command. That's arrogance in its purest form. And this is the fundamental difference we have to get. Iblis's problem wasn't a lack of faith in God's existence. It was an overabundance of faith in himself. It was kibr. Adam's mistake was ghafla, a temporary slip-up, an error that he could recover from. As you can see, one is a dead end, but the other is a detour, and you can always find your way back from a detour. All right, so let's see how this idea builds. Because this primal choice, arrogance versus humility, defiance versus repentance, it's not just a one-and-done event that happened in paradise. What the surah shows us is that this exact same test plays out on a massive scale, again and again and again, all throughout human history. So now, the camera kind of pulls back. We're zooming out from the individual to entire societies. Every time a messenger comes to a nation with God's message, that whole community is faced with the exact same fundamental choice. Are they going to respond with the humility of Adam or the arrogance of Iblis? And we see this pattern just laid out for us, one after another. The surah walks us through this timeline of prophets, Nuh, Hud, Saleh, Lut, Su'aib, and Musa. Every single one of them brings the same core message to their people, and every single nation is put to the same test. It's this recurring cycle of divine warning and human response. And the consequence for choosing arrogance? Well, it's laid out in the starkest terms possible. This verse directly links to 9 God's signs out of arrogance with an impossible outcome. It's not just that it's hard for them to get into paradise, it becomes an absolute literal impossibility. And just so we're clear, this wasn't some kind of new poetic metaphor. At the time this was revealed, a camel passing through the eye of a needle was a common, well-known saying. It was the go-to idiom for something that could never, ever happen. The language here is designed to communicate the absolute finality of choosing that path of arrogance. There is no coming back. Now, the surah gives us its longest, most detailed story as the ultimate case study of these two spiritual problems in action. The story of Moses and Pharaoh isn't just about a prophet and a king. It's about a massive collision between a society totally built on kibr and a people constantly struggling with Hawwa.
So let's break this down. On one side, you've got Pharaoh. He's the ultimate archetype of kib. His response to Moses isn't just no. He doubles down, he triples down, he even claims to be God himself. Then, on the other side, you have the children of Israel, who embody ghafla. They are saved from slavery, they witness mind-blowing miracles, and then, in a moment of total heedlessness, they forget it all and start worshiping a golden calf.
So what we're really seeing here are these two diseases playing out on a national level. Pharaoh's story shows us arrogance in its final, terminal stage, a complete inability to accept the truth, no matter how clear the signs are. And the story of the Israelites, it shows us a persistent heedlessness, a repeated failure to just hold on to the truth that they've already been given.
Okay, so if arrogance and heedlessness are the core human problems, then what's the solution? I mean, the surah doesn't just diagnose these spiritual diseases, it gives us a clear prescription for the cure. It actually lays out a path for how to navigate this human condition successfully.
Because that's the thing. This chapter isn't just a history book full of cautionary tales. It's a guide. It's offering us a spiritual toolkit, one designed specifically to fight back against these two fundamental weaknesses of the human heart. And here are the tools in that kit. First, follow the revelation. Treat it like your ultimate map, your GPS for life. Second, don't just read it. Listen to it attentively, with humility and focus. That's the direct antidote to ghafla. Third, actively remember God, humbly and sincerely. This builds a powerful shield against kibr. And finally, you have to translate that inner state into outer action by upholding justice, being fair, and showing patience with people.
And there's this one verse that just wraps it all up so beautifully. It's a reminder that, yeah, God gave us physical clothes to look good and to cover ourselves, but the best clothing, the most important protection, and the most beautiful adornment is spiritual. It's righteousness, or taqwa. This internal clothing is what really guards us against the elements of arrogance and heedlessness.
So let's bring this all home. We've seen the primal test. We've seen how it echoes throughout all of history. And we've seen the spiritual path that's offered as the solution. But the final message of the surah is that this isn't really about people in the past. It's about you, right here, right now.
And this is probably the most important takeaway from all of this. These stories of prophets, pharaohs, of the children of Israel, they're not just history lessons for us to memorize. They're meant to be mirrors. They're presented to us so that we can see our own reflections in them and understand the huge choice that every single one of us has to make, every single day.
And so, at the end of the day, we're all left with that same fundamental choice. Will our path be one of arrogance, where we put our own opinions and ego above everything else? Or will it be one of humility and turning back to God? Will we live a life of heedlessness, just forgetting what matters? Or a life of remembrance? The one great story that explains all the others, well, it's still being written. And the story continues with you.